as angry as Frogger, partly because it requires patience, and I have little to no patience, and partly because, well, it's always seemed like kind of a one-hit wonder. Like, there was the arcade game, and it was great. But what else was there? What, Frogger Beyond? Yeah, games like getting your teeth cleaned. But that's what I'm talking about. Like beyond the original, what else has Frogger done? Well, I'll tell you what he's done, you big jerk. Frogger 2 for the Game Boy Color. That's what. So this game was released in the year 2000, 2 years after the Game Boy Color got the original Frogger. And that game's like, I mean, it's as good as Frogger's ever been since the 80s, which is to say it's decent, but hardly memorable. So when I popped in this sucker, well, you have to forgive me if my expectations weren't terribly high. And then Frogger will have to forgive me because I was definitely wrong. This game's awesome. See, this is what I'm talking about, Frogger. Forget the 3D. The power of the Game Boy Color compels you! So, what makes this one so good? Well, a couple things. Actually, first off, it keeps that core Frogger gameplay intact. So rather than rework it into something it's not, it just builds around that classic gameplay. You're trying to get Frogger from one side of the level to the other. Well, this time you're doing more than just avoiding cars and jumping on lily pads. And Frogger 2 has lots of different worlds, which opens up that familiar design to some cool new concepts, whether it's huge boulders or invisible platforms. So it's familiar, but it's also fresh, which is exactly the kind of sequel you want from Frogger. And the levels themselves are a lot bigger, too. I mean, not as big as some of the 3D games took it. Some of those levels are so long they actually start to get boring. Like, we can only move one square at a time. Yeah, you don't want the levels to be too big. These are just right. And actually, another change is that you don't have to get 5 frogs to the end, either. 1 frog's all it takes to move on, which means the game keeps moving, and the scenery keeps changing. That way, there's less of the tedium that could set in with the original Frogger, where you basically had to play the same stage several times before moving on. You know, this ties into the diversity of the worlds too, but this one looks way better than the Game Boy Color's first Frogger game. Just way more colorful, way more detail. And even Frogger himself, you know, he just looks a lot more charming this time. Especially when he's jumping sideways. He's got this, like, cartoony profile. Just really works. There's actually a lady Frogger too this time. Her name's Lily. Her sprite even has little froggy pigtails too. I guess frogtails, I guess? But anyway, it's one of the most memorable versions of Frogger I've ever played, and the presentation has a lot to do with that. You know, all those little touches and details really adds up. Actually, another big plus is that Frogger 2 has some replay value as well. See, with every level, you can either just beat it and move on, or you can take the time to collect all the gems first. And that has all kind of benefits, like refilling your timer, giving you extra lives. And plus, it gives you this cool new icon on your level list. Now, you do it without dying, you get a different icon. Do it without dying and break that level's record time, that's the best icon. So there's just a lot of incentive to keep playing and to do better. Besides the fact that, you know, it's also fun. Actually, that's the thing that surprised me most about Frogger 2. You know, not the slick presentation, or the cool level design, or that balance between old and new. No, I think what surprised me most was just how insanely fun this game is. Like, even more than the original, too, because this one's also less frustrating. In fact, but I'm just gonna say it, I honestly think this might be my favorite Frogger to date. If you find it for cheap, it's definitely worth picking up. I mean, Frogger's jumped into some pretty weird games over the years, but look, however it happened, he finally jumped into a great sequel on the Game Boy Color. It's Frogger 2! More Frogger like this, please. Less possessed 3D Frogger.